religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you. He loves you. He loves you and he needs money.
Many of you probably subscribe to our polite cultural belief that we should respect religion. But I also suspect that a fair number of those secretly despise religion as much as I do. If you're one of them, and of course many of you may not be, but if you are one of them, I'm asking you to stop being polite, come out and say so. People are always going on about how did September the 11th change you? Well, here's how it changed me. Let's all stop being so damned respectful. Thank you very much.
I tell Jesus, go fuck yourself.
I like messing with Christians, man. Because they easy to get. You know, they scan quick, you know.
I deny.
I deny.
I deny.
I deny the Holy Spirit.
Ridiculous invention of humanity.
No, he doesn't exist.
All pretend.
I
deny
the
Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit.
I'm going to start you off by saying I, Kellen, am 14 and deny the existence of the Holy Spirit, and I'm not afraid of going to hell. And I'm not afraid of going to heaven. I'm not afraid of any of it, because I know that after I die, nothing happens. How do I know? Because religion is bullshit.
Because there is no Humpty Dumpty and there is no God. None, not one, no God, never was. In fact, I'm gonna put it this way. If there is a God, may he strike this audience dead. See, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Everybody's okay. All right? Tell you what.
12th century kicks in, and then you get the influence of this scholar, Al-Ghazali. All right? And so out of his work, you get the philosophy that mathematics is the work of the devil. And nothing good can come of that philosophy. That combined with other sort of codification, philosophical codifications of what Islam was and would become, the entire intellectual foundation of that enterprise collapsed, and it has not recovered since. Over that period, all these books were translated into Arabic on a scale not seen since then. And so why am I even going here? Because I'm trying to explain to you that you fast forward, the dangers here is that when you fast forward to 21st century America and ask, what influences are we feeling now? Because that naming period in Islam stopped and it never recovered. Because the way of thinking about the natural world, revelation replaced investigation. Okay?
I think that religion teaches people to stop questioning. I'm sure you disagree with that, but the way I see it, it is such a privilege to be born at all. It's a very improbable event that either of us were born. We have the privilege of being in this universe for a few decades. And during that time, it is an enormous privilege to be able to understand something about the universe in which we live, why we're here, why we were ever born, where we come from. And I think that is such a wonderful thing to be able to do, that I am hostile, I can get angry about competing accounts which seem to me to not encourage that kind of questioning, but instead to say, this is how it is, it's all written in the Holy Book, it was written 2,000 years ago, and that's the end of it. I think that deprives people. I think that is such a a belittling, a demeaning view of the universe, and I think it's tragic that children are brought up with that when they could be brought up in a more open-minded way. So that's one reason for the anger.
What troubles me the most about religion is just the noise that it injects into every other aspect of life, right? And that noise is coming from people who have faith in things that they can't actually prove, and yet their faith leads them to believe that they are justified in believing that stuff. And you know, if once they think that their beliefs are justified, they're going to talk about it and think it's important and think it's worth sharing and so on. And the result is a bunch of stuff that there's no good reason to believe gets promoted in our culture. And this affects all kinds of things. It interferes with education, it interferes with science, it interferes socially. You know, I mean, the religious intolerance is only one part of it.
Yeah, I object for both the reasons that Jeff just listed and what you said, you know, would be the obvious reasons, but I object to it at a foundational level because of the things that it ends up doing. So this is to me why I said I object to people believing things on faith. If you have good reason to believe something, you don't need faith, and faith is not a path, a reliable path to truth or correct understanding. Faith is indistinguishable from gullibility. You could believe anything on faith. And so we need some way to distill whether or not our beliefs are true, and that's why I object to faith.
So I fast forward to 21st century, and what do you find? You get things like this, okay? This is in America. All right? So now, what I find interesting is it's a level of passion that it requires to actually do it. You gotta like pay for this.
I think religion is the most divisive and dangerous ideology that we have ever produced. And what's more, it's the only ideology that is systematically protected from criticism, both from within and without. It remains taboo. I mean, you can criticize someone's beliefs really on any subject, but it remains taboo to criticize their beliefs about God. And I think we're paying an extraordinary price for maintaining this. I mean, here's my basic concern. Our ability to cause ourselves harm is now spreading with 21st century efficiency. And yet we are still, to a remarkable degree, drawing our vision of how to live in this world from ancient literature. This marriage of modern technology, destructive technology, and Iron Age philosophy is a bad one, for reasons that I think nobody should have to specify, much less argue for. And yet arguing for them has taken up most of my time since September 11th, 2001. That day that 19 pious men showed our pious nation just how socially beneficial religious certainty can be.
Everybody fighting over this religious shit. You understand me? The Christians say Jesus is the messenger. The Muslims say it's Muhammad. I say, who gives a fuck who the messenger is? Did you get the message?
My thing is, when I go to church, I can't get past the fact that I'm just listening to some fucking guy. You ever think of that shit when you go in there? That's just some dude. And people are like, no, that's a special guy. No, it isn't. It isn't. Why would you listen to another human being tell you where you're going to go when you die? It's just like, dude, have you ever been dead? No. Great. So wouldn't it be safe to assume that you wouldn't have the slightest fucking idea what you're talking about?
But we all know tomorrow's economies will be founded on innovations in science and technology, and of course that gets cut short if we lose our civilization, as what happened in Islam in 1100. And the last thought I'll leave you with, which concerns me greatly, if you do the math, okay? You know, just look. You look at all the Nobel Prize winners that ever were, some even in this room, and ask how many were Muslim. And it's like one, maybe two. Okay, I think a second one was in economics, and the one we referred to was described earlier, the co-winner of the Nobel Prize with Professor Weinberg, Abdus Salam. And he's not Middle Eastern Muslim; he's Pakistani Muslim. Okay, now. How many Nobel Prizes are won by Jews? It's like the fourth of the Nobel Prizes, okay? Some high fraction. of the total. And then you look, how many Muslims are there in the world? It's like 1 billion Muslims. How many Jews? 15 million tops. Okay? So you to ratio these numbers, had Islam not collapsed in its intellectual standing in the year 1100, and you just do the ratios, they would have every single Nobel Prize today. So the fact that it's not only just a few, it's near zero, it is deeply worrying. I'm concerned about what lost, what brilliance may have expressed itself and did not in that community over the past 1,000 years. And so what I want to put on the table is why, so that's the end of my talk, but I want to put on the table not why 85% of the National Academy rejects God. I want to know why 15% don't. And that's really what we got to address here. Otherwise, the public is secondary to this. Thank you for your attention here.